Greetings all, I'm Aaron Mills, and welcome to Legacy of the Pink Panther, a retrospective on the films and cartoons of the Pink Panther franchise. Last time, we talked about the original 1963 Pink Panther film, and how the last-minute casting of Peter Sellers as Inspector Clouseau changed the course of the film series forever. Today, we're going to take a look at the first major step in that change. Prior to the Pink Panther, Peter Sellers had already committed to do another movie, an adaptation of the play A Shot in the Dark by Harry Kunitz, which was in turn an adaptation of the French play L'Idiot by Marcel Archard. However, once production had begun, Sellers found himself disliking the script and the direction the film was taking, not finding it all that funny. With the success of the Pink Panther, Peter Sellers went to Blake Edwards and begged him repeatedly to come on board to rewrite the script and serve as the movie's new director. Now, Edwards wasn't originally interested, but he eventually relented. But by the time he made his decision, there was so little time to actually get the film produced that there was only one way that he could think of to effectively make the script funny and possibly a hit. Replace the character of the executive magistrate from the play with Inspector Clouseau. So, let's see how that one change created what many critics believe to be the best film in the Pink Panther franchise and set up many of the tropes and trademarks that fans would come to know as we look at A Shot in the Dark. The film opens on the mansion of noted industrialist Benjamin Ballon. We are also treated to another Henry Mancini-composed song performed by Fran Jeffries. As Fran sings on, we see Ballon coming into the servants' quarters, which kicks off a sequence of Ballon, the servants, and Ballon's wife coming and going through the various rooms of the quarters. And while all these comings and goings are relevant to the plot, because we have no idea who these people are at this point, it's kind of confusing. Ultimately, we see Ballon enter one particular room, then we see the maid, Maria Gambrelli, played by Elke Sommer, come up the stairs in the hallway arguing with Miguel, the chauffeur, which leads to the first murder of the movie. Yep, I said first murder.
Paris, when I know that dawn means goodbye.
After the obligatory animated opening titles, we see the first appearance of one of the series' longest-running characters, Charles Dreyfus, Clouseau's long-suffering boss, played by Herbert Lom. Which, now that I think about it, gives me an opportunity to talk about something that you need to understand about these movies going forward. In today's pop culture-obsessed world of the internet, there is a tendency to whine and complain about any perceived continuity errors between installments of a major film franchise. Just keep in mind that the original series of Pink Panther films span a period of approximately 30 years, and back in the early 60s, franchising wasn't as much of a motivator as it is in the movie industry today. So if you're expecting any sort of explanation as to how Clouseau got out of prison following the events of the Pink Panther, or how he was reinstated to being a police inspector, you're not going to get it here. You're not even going to get any mention of the first film at all. Part of this is because, as I mentioned, Clouseau wasn't originally going to be the main character of this film, but mostly it's because these films tend to play fast and loose with their own internal continuity. You'll see what I mean in later episodes when we get to some of the later movies in the series. Suffice it to say that for right now, Clouseau's back to being a police inspector, and he's in charge of this particular investigation. And Dreyfus? Well, Dreyfus has problems with Clouseau.
Monsieur Dreyfus. Oh, monsieur. A catastrophe. We've just had a report of a shooting at the Chateau de la Pierre Blanche.
So?
Monsieur Ballon.
What, Ballon? The millionaire?
Yes.
Oh, that is a catastrophe. Yes?
Oh, no. I mean, it's not so much the shooting that is a catastrophe.
No?
No. You see, when the report came in, there were a few details. Just that someone had been shot and the address. I didn't, until a few moments ago, realize that it was the home of the millionaire Ballon.
So?
So, I made a terrible mistake.
Who did you assign to the case?
Clouseau.
Oh, my God.
And so Clouseau makes his grand entrance. After making his introductions, Clouseau and his assistant Hercule LaJoie, played by Graham Stark, are shown to Maria's quarters where they examine the scene of the crime.
This pen has been fired recently.
Mm-hmm.
And you are?
Maria Gambrelli.
I am Inspector Clouseau.
How do you do?
See what else you can find. What are you doing?
I'm taking the gun, Inspector.
This is my pistol pen.
I know it's your pen, Inspector.
Get your own pistol pen, please. This is my own personal one.
You may have noticed something slightly different in Peter Sellers' performance here as opposed to the Pink Panther. As I said, this is the film where a lot of the series' common trademarks and tropes started appearing. Dreyfus is one of them, but it's also here that Clouseau's famously mangled French accent, use of spoonerisms, and other verbal tics first came into play. Now, it's a lot more subtle in this movie than later films, because Sellers didn't start incorporating the accent until about halfway through filming, when he came back from his days off, having spent some time in France, where he encountered a concierge who spoke English with the same ludicrous accent. Sellers found it hilarious and suggested to Edwards that they incorporate it into Clouseau's character. Edwards agreed, and the world's most unconvincingly convincing French accent entered the annals of film history.
Have you any idea who killed him?
I've no idea.
She killed him. What?
That's not true.
She says it's not true.
She is lying.
You watch your tongue.
I heard 4 shots, monsieur.
Ah, you heard 4 shots.
Yes.
You did not see 4. I'm sorry. You did not see these 4 shots.
No, monsieur.
No, well, then you could not possibly know who fired those shots.
The door was locked, monsieur, from the inside.
So what does that prove?
When I broke it open, I found Miguel where you see him now, and Maria with a gun in her hand.
With the gun in her hand.
Still smoking.
Did you have the gun in your hand? Was it still smoking?
I suppose so, but I don't know how it got there. I really don't.
Ridiculous.
I will decide what is ridiculous.
Monsieur, you surely don't believe...
I believe everything. And I believe nothing.
As Clouseau questions Maria, it becomes quite obvious that he's becoming infatuated with her, to the point of setting his coat on fire. It's then that Dreyfus arrives on the scene and throws Clouseau off the case. But this doesn't last long, as an offhand comment from Bellon will result in Clouseau being put back on the investigation. But first, the introduction of another classic Pink Panther trope. This is Kato, played by Burt Kwok, Clouseau's long-suffering houseman who has standing orders to sneak attack Clouseau at every turn to keep the inspector's self-defense skills sharp. This fight is nowhere near as long or as elaborate as future fights will become later in the series, but it's always fun to see where a long-running gag got started. And I do mean long-running. Burt Kwok often joked when asked which of the Pink Panther films was his favorite that he couldn't tell them apart, and it just seemed to him that all they were doing was filming one movie, which just happened to take 20 years to complete. But let's get to the facts of the case.
Facts, Hercule. Facts. Nothing matters but the facts. Without them, the science of criminal investigation is nothing more than a guessing game. You listen to me, Hercule, and you will learn something. Now then, the facts in this case are: the body of the chauffeur was found in the bedroom of the second maid. Fact. Cause of death: 4 bullets in the chest. Fact. The bullets were fired at close range from a .25 caliber Beretta automatic. Fact. Maria Gambrelli was discovered with the murder weapon in her hand. Fact. The murder weapon was registered in the name of the deceased, Miguel Ostos, and was kept, mark you, in the glove compartment of the Ballon Rolls-Royce. Fact. Now then, members of the household staff have testified that Miguel Ostos beat... Careful, you fool, you've broken my pointing stick. I've got nothing to point with now. Have testified that Miguel Ostos beat Maria Gambrelli frequently. And now finally comes the sworn statement of Monsieur and Madame Ballon, as well as all the members of the staff, each of them with perfect alibis. Now then, Hercule, what is the inescapable conclusion?
Maria Gambrelli killed the chauffeur.
What? You idiot! Impossible! She's protecting someone.
How do you know that?
Instinct!
But the facts?
You are forgetting the most important fact. Motive.
He beat her.
He was Spanish.
He tore her dress off.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. Would you kill somebody who tore your dress off?
No, I suppose not.
No, of course not.
Clouseau believes Maria is protecting the actual murderer and has her brought to his office for further questioning. Clouseau states that George the gardener stated that Maria claimed Miguel raped her, but Maria refutes the story. Additionally, she states that the night of the murder, the two of them were going to stop seeing each other, but it was Miguel who was leaving her.
That what?
Testimony of Georges Duval, gardener. Referring to Ostos, you described him, and I quote, as that crazy Spaniard who raped me in my father's fields.
He did not rape me.
He did not force you?
Well, you see, I tripped over a root, and I grabbed Miguel to keep me from falling. And somehow we both fell. I cried a little bit afterwards, but that wasn't because I was sorry it happened. It was something he said.
He insulted you?
Oh, no. He lit a cigarette and took a long puff and... Tell me, why do so many men smoke afterwards? No wonder tobacco companies get rich.
Yes, I must admit I'd never thought of it quite that way.
Last night. It was to be our last night. It was all finished.
You were leaving him?
Oh, no. He was leaving me. Poor Miguel. He was really in one of his moods last night. First he babbled in Spanish, and then he cried. You know, he really broke down and cried.
You don't say.
I do say. And then when I tried to console him, make him feel better, suddenly he was tearing off my clothes and cursing like a madman.
Very strange.
Clouseau's infatuation with Maria grows stronger, but he still holds to his theory that she is protecting someone. So he has her released from prison with the idea that Maria will lead him to the murderer. This initial attempt doesn't go quite as planned.
You have a license to sell these balloons?
License?
Back at the Boulogne mansion, George the gardener has a few words with the master of the house.
Now come along, George. What is it you want?
I saw you climbing down from Maria's room.
You have sharp eyes.
Ah, yes. And a big stomach. So hard to keep it filled. Prices these days.
Are we going to discuss the national economy, or will you presently come to the point?
The point is 100,000 francs. You know, for the groceries. Then perhaps my eyes will grow small again.
Yes, well, we'll certainly have to do something about your stomach.
And of course, in movies like this, we know what happens when someone tries to blackmail somebody else, don't we?
My... Oh, you've been cutting flowers. Well, you must have been cutting something. There's blood all over your cutting shears. It is very strange.
Obviously, Maria is arrested again, but this only convinces Clouseau that the murderer killed George to cover up the first crime, and so he relies on a foolproof method of getting to the truth.
You released her again?
Yes, sir.
And here we see the beginning of the famous Dreyfus eye twitch. The more his eye twitches, the closer to the edge Clouseau has driven him. And speaking of Clouseau, his attempts to follow Maria, once again, have not gone as planned. After getting back out of jail again, Clouseau returns to the Bellon mansion and is nearly run down as Madame Bellon leaves the estate. He sends LaJoie to follow her and report back when he finds out where she's going before going inside to question Bellon himself.
On the night of the murder, you had just arrived from London on the 11 o'clock flight.
Yes, why do you ask?
It was cancelled due to bad weather.
I arrived on an earlier flight.
I put it to you directly, Monsieur Bellon, that it was you who murdered Miguel Astas.
Don't be ridiculous.
Look, if you can just move that setup. These curved cues can be difficult. Pull the...
I dislike Miguel intensely. But I'm not in the habit of killing people merely because I dislike them.
Ha! Oh, I beg your pardon.
As long as you know about the cancelled flight, I may as well tell you the whole thing. The night that Miguel was killed, I arranged for him to meet the 11 o'clock plane. I arrived on the 9 o'clock. Now, he would be on his way to the airport while I was on my way home. My wife was at a dinner party. This would give me a whole hour, at least, alone in the house.
For what?
For Maria.
What?
Does that surprise you?
Then I submit, Inspector Bellon, that you arrived home, found Miguel with Maria Gambrelli, and killed him in a writ of fellas jage.
I admit to the affair, but to kill for her. Would you kill for her?
Of course, not.
After this revelation, LaJoie calls Clouseau with Madame Bellon's location. Clouseau arrives and investigates. The next day, Clouseau observes the comings and goings of the Bellon mansion and spots the other Bellon maid getting into a taxi. But before he can investigate any further, he's harassed by a crow and takes action.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm the game warden. Do you have a hunting license?
Hunting license?
And as will become familiar later in the series, Clouseau's antics are taking their toll on Dreyfus.
Give me 10 men like Clouseau, and I could destroy the world. Where is he now?
I don't know. After I got his release, he got a phone call. He ran out of his office saying he had an important lead that would crack the case.
This case is already so full of cracks, I guess one more won't make any difference. Francois?
Yes, Commissioner?
I just cut off my thumb.
Clouseau's new lead brings him to a meeting with LaJoie, who reports that he saw Maria enter a place called Camp Sunshine. But he also notes that he saw one of the other Bellon household maids, Dudu, enter right behind her. This leads to one of the most famous sequences in the entire series.
And where do you think you're going?
I do not think, sir. I know where I am going. I am going to the recreation area.
Not like that, you're not.
What was that you said?
I said you're not going to the recreation area like that.
I am Inspector Clouseau of the Sûreté.
Oh, how do you do? I'm Turk.
I am here on official business, and I am looking for someone at the recreation area.
Not unless you take off your clothes.
You, sir, are under arrest.
Arrest? What for?
For making lewd and suggestive remarks to an official of the French government.
Lewd and suggestive remarks?
Also for indecent exposure. Doesn't anyone wear any clothes around here?
No.
What?
This is a nudist colony.
A nudist colony?
Right. And nobody gets in unless they take their clothes off.
What, all of them?
All of them. Right down to your mustache.
As Clouseau looks for Maria, Dreyfus and several other officers arrive with some upsetting news.
Are you the one who called the police?
I?
Someone called from this camp and reported a murder.
Murder?
Tell the men to spread out and search the camp.
But one of your men is already in the camp.
One of my men?
Yes, Inspector Clouseau.
Yep, another murder.
Clouseau! Over here! Quick. Listen, that's Dudu.
Dudu?
She's dead.
Dead? Dudu?
Not wanting Maria to be arrested for Dudu's murder, but also unable to get their clothes without getting caught, Clouseau steals a car, and the two of them try to make it back to Clouseau's apartment where they can get some clothing. Again, this will not go according to plan. However, before we see how all this plays out, let's look in on Dreyfus as he attempts to locate Maria at the Ballon estate.
She has not been in the house all day.
All I can tell you is that she left before I did this morning, and she wasn't here when I got back an hour ago. Henri can verify that.
Henri?
The head butler.
I'd like to talk to Henri.
Well, he could have verified it.
And now, traffic.
Control yourself, please. Control.
Naturally, Dreyfus throws Clouseau off the case, and we actually see that despite his psychotic hatred of Clouseau, Dreyfus is actually a very good investigator.
I couldn't understand why anyone would want a man like Clouseau to be in charge of a murder case, especially a case of this importance.
But why with Ballon?
He wouldn't. Unless he was protecting someone. Now, if you were protecting someone, who would be the perfect man on the case? A fool. A detective who is a complete and utter fool.
Clouseau?
Of course. If Maria Gambrelli is convicted, Ballon is up to his ears in a very nasty scandal. And Clouseau was his insurance policy against such a scandal. Well, he has gone. I feel like a child again.
It's an interesting theory, but what if you are wrong? I know it's an extremely remote possibility, but what if you are wrong and Ballon is not protecting Maria Gambrelli? What if she's innocent, as Clouseau claims?
Ridiculous.
But a possibility. What if Ballon is protecting someone else? Or what if Ballon himself is the guilty party?
It's a sadistic thing to suggest.
But if only for the sake of discussion, what if you are wrong and Clouseau a fool, a complete and utter fool?
I'd be ruined.
It's something to consider.
With these doubts now planted in his mind, Dreyfus puts Clouseau back on the case, who, naturally, has Maria released again. No, we're done with that joke, I promise. No, Clouseau's plan is to take Maria out for a night on the town, which is totally not a date. It's completely a plan, honest. Anyway, the idea is that the murderer will become so jealous seeing Maria step out with another man that he'll do something foolish and reveal himself. Dreyfus does not approve of this plan.
He claims she's protecting her lover, and the best way to force him into the open is to make him jealous. Jealous. That nincompoop, that megalomaniac. He's setting the science of criminal investigation back 1,000 years. And I can't do anything about it.
Why not?
Why not? What if he's right?
What if he is?
I'm finished, washed up. Sanity and reason become things of the past. Madness reigns.
Just relax.
Relax? With Clouseau loose in the world? You go about offering irresponsible suggestions like that, Doctor, and you better find yourself a good analyst.
The dinner date does not exactly work out as planned. Throughout the course of the evening, an unseen figure keeps trying to kill Clouseau at each location he and Maria visit. Another diner is killed by accident at the restaurant where they're eating. An unsuspected doorman is knifed in the back. Another diner at another bar is hit with a poisoned blowpipe dart. A Cossack dancer gets a hold of some poisoned vodka intended for Clouseau. And finally, the evening's festivities end explosively. Hang on a minute, I've lost count. How many murders are we up to now?
A doorman, 2 customers, and a Cossack.
Most regrettable.
Regrettable. Including the Bollo murders, this brings the grand total to 8.
Dreyfus is, naturally, fed up with Clouseau and his theories, but before he can throw Clouseau off the case again, Clouseau announces that he will have the identity of the murderer that evening. So begins the strangest parlor scene in whodunit history. Now, obviously, if you've been paying attention, you know that Clouseau doesn't have a single clue as to who killed any of these people. But he does have a plan, which might actually work.
Right, now, remember, at 8 o'clock sharp, you pull the master switch just as I am about to name the murderer.
I leave the lights off for 5 seconds.
It's not a second longer, just long enough for the murderer to leave the room. Understand? You quite clear?
As LaJoie moves into position, we see the same mysterious figure that had been following Clouseau the night before, and Clouseau stalls for time until LaJoie throws the switch on the power.
Now then, I will tell you why I have called you all here tonight. One of you is a murderer.
Well, we'll leave Clouseau stalling for now, so we'll go outside instead, where we'll find out who the mysterious figure who's been tailing him is. Well, that's half the murders solved right there. Still doesn't explain who killed the first 4, though. Let's check back in with Clouseau.
And we cannot condemn her because she does not believe this man was a killer. But this man was not only a killer. He was an unprincipled villain who would rather see Maria Gambrelli go to the guillotine than lose her to another man. He was hiding in the closet when she came into the room with the Spaniard. He opened the door, shot the Spaniard, and put the gun in Maria's hand.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Benjamin.
I think...
Shut up!
You have something to say, Monsieur Bellon?
He has nothing to say.
No, but she has. Why don't you ask her? How dare you? She was having an affair with my husband. Liar!
You are a fine one to talk. Your husband was having an affair with my wife.
Liar! Thank you, Pierre. What about you? What about you and Simone?
Oh, no.
What about you and Georges? Liar!
Ah, you killed him. What? I saw you go to the greenhouses before Maria.
He's crazy. Why should I kill Georges?
What? Because you were having an affair with him.
I should kill him for that.
You killed him because you knew he was carrying on with a man. What about you? I saw you kill Dudu.
Liar!
I saw you.
That's insane. Why should I kill
What?
Dudu?
Because you discovered that she was having an affair with Pierre.
That's not true.
She told me.
Ah, yes. Of course she told you, because you and Dudu were blackmailing the madame.
You liar.
Ah, she told me. She saw madame kill Miguel.
Shut up! That's not
What
possible.
is that? What?
Georges told me he saw Monsieur Baron climbing out of Maria's window right after the shooting.
Well, I didn't kill him. I was the one in the closet.
Oh.
My wife expected to find me with Maria and shot Miguel by accident. I put the gun in Maria's hand to protect my wife.
I arrest you for putting the gun in Maria's hand.
Oh, you keep out of this.
You self-righteous hypocrite, you What about Henri?
Well, what about Henri?
You killed him.
Why should I kill him?
I thought you put the gun. Shut up! I saw you put the guy, drag his body into Maria's room. It was you. Yes, it was.
Why should I kill her?
For the same reason why you put the gun in Maria's arm.
Okay, I realize there's a lot of shouting going on, so let's see if I can break down this solution for you. First off, Madame Bellon killed Miguel by mistake, as she was expecting Bellon to be in the room with Maria. She shot Miguel and fled. Bellon, who was hiding in the closet, burst out, knocking Maria out with the knob on the closet door. He put the gun in Maria's hand and made his escape. George the gardener was killed by the cook because he was having an affair with Madame Bellon at the same time he was having an affair with her. Simone, the other maid, killed Dudu because she was having an affair with Pierre, the other chauffeur. Maurice, the other butler, was more or less blackmailing anyone he could get dirt on. As for who killed Henri, the head butler, well, we never actually figure that out because everything degenerates into incoherent screaming. However, since Bellon was seen putting Henri's body in Maria's closet, it's likely he killed him for unknown reasons. What, you were expecting a solution to the mystery that actually made sense? In a Blake Edwards movie? And now, of course, LaJoy cuts the power, allowing the 5 murderers and 1 blackmailer to escape in Clouseau's car, much to Dreyfus's dismay.
Come back, you fools! Come back! Clouseau, stop them! Stop them!
What?
The bomb!
The what? The bomb?
It was meant for you.
What do you mean it was meant for me, Commissioner?
Dorman, 2 customers on the Cossack, and now 6 more innocent people.
They were all murderers except Maurice, who was a blackmailer, Commissioner.
Compared with you, they were all saints.
Commissioner, please, what are you doing?
I hate you, Clouseau.
Commissioner, please.
I hate you.
Commissioner, what are you doing to me? Let go of me. Commissioner, let go of my leg. Yes.
Hercule!
Get him off me. Commissioner. 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 He's flashing my leg. Commissioner.
Commissioner!
And so LaJoy restrains Dreyfus, allowing Clouseau and Maria to have the romantic ending that they deserve. Or not. A Shot in the Dark was another hit at the box office, making over $12 million, which comes out to around $93 million today. Much like the Pink Panther, if you've never seen this movie, you really should. It's much more over the top than the Pink Panther, but it's just as funny, and it's fun to see where the initial seeds of long-running characters and gags that show up in the rest of the series began. However, it also started the long-standing butting heads between Sellers and Edwards. The relationship between the two deteriorated during the making of this movie, leading to both saying they would never work with each other ever again. This would prove not to be true, as the two of them realized that they were a great filmmaking team no matter how much they argued and butted heads on set. This would lead to them reuniting 4 years later to make The Party. This, however, led to a bind for the Mirish Corporation, who had produced The Pink Panther and A Shot in the Dark, because they were interested in making another Pink Panther film, but, as mentioned, Sellers and Edwards were busy making The Party. Not only that, Peter Sellers had stated that he was really not interested in playing Clouseau again, and really had begun to dislike the character immensely. Now, normally you would think any studio executive would decide to be a little cautious and wait for Sellers and Edwards to finish The Party, and then try to rope them both back into making another Pink Panther film. You would also be incredibly ignorant about how the studio system works. The Mirish Corporation decided to go ahead and make another movie anyway, without Peter Sellers starring and without Blake Edwards at the helm. And what was the result? Well, we'll find that out next month as we see what happens when you try to make a Pink Panther movie without Sellers or Edwards when Alan Arkin steps into the title role of Inspector Clouseau. I'm Aaron Mills. Join me again next month as we continue to look at the legacy of the Pink Panther.